How's it going? Hey, I'm making a pot of, this is kind of an adapted pot of my grandmother's recipe for Portuguese beans. Now, I don't have all the typical correct spices that I would use if I was following my grandmother's recipe. Right now, I just have salt and pepper and all-purpose spice in here. But she used to add a little bit of sugar. Sometimes she would add a little cinnamon. Sometimes and I think she put cumin or turmeric in here, I think. Maybe something else, but my mother did it the same way, and all my aunts did as well. So let me tell you real quick what we're doing and how I do it. Now, this is an adapted recipe. This isn't really the way that my mother used to do it, or the way that I typically do it. I'm just doing this pot of beans with what I have in the house. So this is like about half a bag of those pinto beans. Maybe it's a pound or something like that. I washed them last night, cleaned them, picked out like the bad ones that I could see right off the bat, put them through a strainer, then put them in some warm water, lightly covered like this, no heat, on the stove overnight, just soaking with no heat. It's just sitting there soaking in water that came, in warm water that will cool off overnight. So in the morning you get up and almost like probably half the water is gone, and the beans are a half cooked, right? But they haven't even been cooked, they've just been soaking. So once that soaking process is done, then you don't have to do this, but I do this. I rinse it again. So I take the water that the beans were soaking in, I rinse them again, like 2 times through the strainer to get skins off and what look like dirty ones or bad ones. Then I put them back in the pot, and I put about 4 cups of warm water in there, and I put it on simmer, and it's been going for about 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours. Just on a simmer. It's like on a medium heat right now. It's like on a rolling low boil. So then I add salt and pepper to it, some all-purpose seasoning. Because I want to sweeten it up, I will probably add the only thing that I have that's kind of sweet is I'll probably go with, I thought about ketchup, but I've never put ketchup in Portuguese beans before, so we're going to try a little bit of Sweet Baby Ray's and see. And we'll see what happens. Okay. That should be okay for right now. Then we're going to stir it and taste it. So then on the front burner, I have some peppers and onions that are sauteing, right? And they're sauteing with nothing. There's no oil and there's no butter in there. The reason why there's no oil and no butter in there is because when you do these beans, you don't need to add any more fat because there's going to be meat in here, and the fats. Typically, I would add like linguiça and bacon to this, right? I'd be putting linguiça and bacon in here, but I don't have linguiça and bacon. All I have is a leftover piece of steak and then a bunch of uncooked steak. So we're just going to use the leftover piece of steak that I have right here, and I'm going to chop it very finely, and then we'll saute it in here with the peppers and onions, and that's going to be really the only fat that will be added to this dish will be this from this steak right here. The reason why I do it that way is because I don't like all the fat on the top of the beans, because this is a huge pot of beans. This is a bunch of really great protein for me. It's a good change for me from eggs and chicken and steak, which is all I usually eat, and protein shakes. So this is like a good protein. And what I'll do is I'll piece this up. I'll put it in about 3 or 4 containers, and I'll freeze them. And each container will be like the size of a meal or 2 for a day. And that's basically it. All right, let's taste this now and see what this tastes like. Oh man. Okay, you know what? It's actually okay. So what we'll do is we'll spice it again one more time with those same spices. That's pretty good. Now, let's hit the steak. Let's see. I'm just going to use my fingers. And, oh, here we go. Hold on. I think you can see that, right? So I'm just going to use my fingers, and let's get this piece of fat off of here. We can turn both those burners down, I think. I think that's what we're going to do. Hang on. There we go. I put them both from a 6 to a 3. Be careful if you chop stuff, if you're not used to chopping stuff. Find a better way than me. So traditionally in my family, big pots of beans like this are cooked all the time, throughout the year even. And usually, like as I mentioned, they will have as a meat, they'll have linguiça, which is a Portuguese pork sausage, and they will have bacon chopped into little pieces like I'm doing this steak, and even sometimes ground beef hamburger. That was like a new addition in the 1970s in my family. People started putting hamburger in their beans. So at the family reunions, there's always a big pot of beans. There was always a big pot of beans everywhere. Now what you do with these beans is you make bean soupage. So soupage in Portuguese, what we call soupage is wet bread. It's a big piece of fresh French bread or sourdough roll, fresh French bread, sliced with some butter on it, and then covered in whatever you're making. And it's called soupage. And so what we do is we put these beans that I'm making on top of a piece of bread that's buttered, that's inside of a bowl. You understand? So that this juice, all this stuff, soaks, it's like almost like a soup, and it's soggy bread, is basically it. It's absolutely delicious. Sometimes you garnish it with fresh mint on top right out of your garden, and it really adds a little something to it. It's like very... and also, I say Portuguese, but everything I'm talking about here comes from my family who's from the Azores Islands, not really from Portugal. So, I mean, if you're like mainland Portugal person, you're like, oh, this isn't really Portuguese food. It's not. This is Azorean food. Specifically, food from the village of Caeta on the island of St. George is where this recipe, this style comes from, St. George. Okay. We're ready. Okay, see what I did with this, with the meat there? The vegetables are just like halfway sauteed, halfway cooked through, because they're going to be in that bean soup in a little bit. All right, let's finish seasoning this. More salt. You can see me. Good. More pepper. More all-purpose. Not that side, this side. Oh, that's the wrong one. I don't want to add that one. That was the barbecue blend. We went to all-purpose seasoning. More. And then we're going to finish it off with the Sweet Baby Ray's. There we go. That's nice. I think it's perfect. I hope. I think. Feels like it. Tasted good the first time. That's why we used basically everything the same, a little bit more to finish it off. The reason why is because in the end, we might end up having to add more water. Much as we hate to do that, because we've already spiced it up and everything. But we might, but I don't know, it's hard to say. It looks really good. All right, let's taste it. Let's see, let's go up a little bit. Oh man, it's really good. This is perfect. All right. So, this right here we can turn off. So we can turn these off because everything here is done. Steak's already cooked. It's broken up and pieced up and mixed in with the peppers and the onions here. Don't worry, I cleaned the stove before I cooked today. The onions and the peppers are more than halfway cooked, which is what we want. So now we're going to dump this whole thing inside of the beans. Well, not like that we aren't. Let's use something else. Let's use this. Now, as I said, like the way my mother would do this, she wouldn't even add peppers to her beans like I just did. She would this skillet that, or this this pan right here that I'm dumping would have just been bacon cut into little pieces in bacon grease with sliced onions, very small, diced little onions, and so not the way that I just did it. She would usually just use, like I said, just bacon and just onions. That's kind of the true recipe. And then you add some ground beef if you've got ground beef going. Or you add linguiça if you've got linguiça going, and you make it small. Because it's all in here now. So I would say that, any kind of, pork is good in here, beef is good in here. You don't want to put chicken inside of Portuguese beans or fish. That's about it. And spices, it's negotiable. This obviously isn't the exact same spicing that my mother used or my grandmother used, but it ain't bad. Yeah, man, that'll work. So now, these beans aren't done yet. Like, let's take one out. See? I already know these aren't done yet. They need to simmer for a little bit longer. This all needs to set and simmer a little bit longer. We're going to give them a taste right now. We'll taste this one and see if it's like cooked through. Oh shit. See, it's almost there. Probably 70%, 75% cooked through. So, if you're new to the channel, when I make these cooking videos, I often don't wear a shirt. It's not intentional at all. It's just because I live in a warm climate and I walk around and I don't use air conditioning. My windows are all open and it's 88 degrees today. And I walk around basically like Tarzan all day. I work from home. You're seeing it. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and a bean cooker. Hey, so there you go. That's the beans. They're almost done. What I'll do now, I'll leave them at this 4 that they're at. Bing, bang, bong, so the steam can come out, and I'll let it get to a little bit of a rumble, and I'll go and I'll watch something on TV or listen to some music, make some art. All right, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Portuguese beans. They're delicious.